The Dallas Cowboys defense, or Matt Eberflus, decided to do something different against the Washington Commanders, and would you believe it? It worked. So that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Was this a step in the right direction for this defense, to them at least being league average and not dead last in every major category? That's what we're going to talk about, so let's not waste any time and get into it. Through the first 6 weeks of the NFL season, the Cowboys were a predominantly zone coverage team, and I think predominantly is an understatement. They ran zone on 83.98% of their plays, 173 plays going into Week 7. They had only ran man coverage 22 times, which is 10% of their plays, and then situational coverage was like 7 plays, and just 4 plays that weren't classified in the system. So a clear discrepancy. It was just zone coverage for the most part. I mean, 22 plays over the course of 6 games is pretty much non-existent. And what was happening? Blown coverages, guys not communicating properly, letting teams catch the ball 7 yards past the line of scrimmage and easily picking up 7, 8, 10, and then eventually 30 and 40-yard bombs when people weren't communicating. It was a disaster, and I've talked about it here on the channel. I was pretty much out on this defense. Like, we know how defensive coordinators or coaches in the NFL in general can be. They get really hung up on what they do, what has worked in the past, and then when you start getting into these situations where the game's on the line or you're nervous, like, you're gonna fall back on what you're comfortable with. It's human nature, and it's definitely what NFL coaches do. Eberflus has predominantly been a zone coverage defensive coordinator and head coach. It's just how he's been. So going into the Washington game, even without Washington having their top 3 wide receivers, and I'm not even going to talk about that because people are going to believe what they want to believe, but Dallas actually did something different. They didn't run man coverage on nearly 85% of their plays. Eberflus actually switched it up. They used man coverage on 47.5% of the snaps. Easily a season high. Like, I think that if you do the math, that's more plays of man coverage in this game than they had ran in the previous 6 weeks. And sure, just running man coverage to run it, like, that doesn't matter. The big question is, did it work? And yes, it worked to perfection. The Washington Commanders quarterbacks against man coverage completed just 5 of 15 passing attempts for 57 passing yards, had a 45.7 passer rating, a pick 6 interception, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 1 recovered fumble, and allowed just 22 points in the game. That is insane. I know I saw the zone coverage and it was like 11 for 15 for like 167 yards and a touchdown against zone coverage, because they still did run it in this game. But when they did, they got smoked compared to running man coverage. Now, obviously, you can't run man every single play, and that's not what we're asking Eberflus to do, but at least mix and match those coverages, make things look different. Don't let the quarterback sit there and be like, okay, well, 9 out of 10 times that I guess it's going to be zone, I'm going to be right, so that's what it's going to be. You got to change it up. The NFL, these offensive coordinators, these quarterbacks, they're too good to not have them guessing at least a little bit. They at least switched it up to where it's nearly 50-50, and the defense was much better for it. I'm not a defensive coordinator, but I can't say that I'm surprised. And you saw Eberflus on the sideline during the game. He was actually super animated because I think he realized that his job was on the line. Maybe not in yesterday's game in particular. Like, if they got blown out, I don't know if Jerry would fire him. They've never fired a DC midseason, but it's definitely on the line for the end of this year. Like, good. I'm glad that he's worried about his job. That's how it should be. No one is safe. No one is above losing their job because they're not performing well, because they refuse to change, because the way that they do it is the best way to do it. And you could tell he was coaching like a guy that knew his job was on the line. And the team, the unit was much, much better for it. It actually gave me hope for the rest of the season. I was so down after the Carolina game, after you give up 183 rushing yards to Carolina. That one was not all on the DC. That wasn't all on Eberflus. Like, guys were getting smoked smoked in that game, but you give up 183 rushing yards. Bryce Young really did whatever he wanted through the air, although didn't do much of anything special. You had blown coverages there. Rico Dowdle running through holes the size of a semi-truck. Like, no, that wasn't all on the DC, but you still got to change it. You still got to try to do something different after a game like that, and I was worried going into this Washington one that they weren't gonna do that. It was gonna look like much of the same. It didn't even look like the same defense that we've seen the past couple of weeks. That didn't look like the defense that gave up 40 points to Russell Wilson that was just consistently getting beat for 50, 60, 70-yard touchdown bombs. They shut down a very good Washington Commanders run game. Even if you take Jaden Daniels' run stuff out of their offense, they were still a top 5 rushing team in the league. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, who has pretty much set the league on fire as a rookie, averaged 2.5 yards per carry. He didn't do any. That's after Rico averaged like 8.5 against you the week before. They were more dominant up front. It felt like Deron Bland was more comfortable with what they were asking him to do. They probably didn't feel like they were playing on their heels the entire game. And Jerry Jones, after the game, made a pretty big point in his post-game presser. And, man, that's the second time I've said that Jerry said something important in one of my videos. Like, what has this world come to? Really quick, guys, before we continue, I want to tell you about the sponsor of the channel for this season and this video, Sleeper. The best daily fantasy sports app on the market. Sleeper has one of the best interfaces that I've seen. So many sports, so many different things. They have fantasy football, they have picks, and I wanted to give you guys my picks for next Sunday night between the Packers and the Steelers. The best time to get in on these picks is early on. That way you can get in before everybody else does, right? And I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers over 215.5 passing yards, more than for Aaron Rodgers, more than half a touchdown, anytime touchdown for Josh Jacobs. And I'm going to say the Packers are going to pick on Jalen Ramsey once again because they just saw what happened to him this past game, and Jordan Love more than 1.5 passing touchdowns. That is my picks here on Sleeper. Thank you to Sleeper for sponsoring the channel, this video, and for the rest of the season. Thank you guys, the best daily fantasy sports app. DoubleMove, get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Now, let's get back into it. But he said that Shoddy spent a lot of time with Eberflus and the defensive coaching staff throughout this past week. He was going over there and trying to figure out what they could do schematically, stuff different to help this unit. Dude, talk about an upgrade at head coach. I mean, your play caller, your head coach, your play designer that works with Clayton Adams went over to the defensive coaches, sat down and said, let's figure this out. There's a way to fix this, and they did. That is a head coach. I've talked about it, like Schottenheimer is partially responsible for how the defense plays. Even though he's the offensive coordinator or the offensive play caller and head coach, like, you still have reign over the defense. If you don't like something, go over there and tell them to change it. Now, will it carry over for the next couple of weeks? They do play some really good offenses, like they're going to play the Chiefs and just got Rashee Rice back and Xavier Worthy. They're going to play the Lions and the Chargers. They aren't just going to roll through the rest of the season because the defense played good against the Commanders, but it was a step forward. Do I think this unit is going to be top 5, top 10, even top 15? No. I've said time and time again, it doesn't need to be that. It needs to be top 20, top 23. Just be a halfway decent defense, because we saw yesterday with how good the offense really is, the defense just getting a couple of stops could lead to a blowout win for Dallas. They're just that good on the other side of the ball. Defense was as good as I could have expected them to be. Dallas won by double the score, 44-22. Sure, Washington was out there without their top receivers. And it's also the NFL. You got to play who you got to play. And Dallas got the win that they so desperately needed. If it was like 24-27, I wouldn't be talking about this game like it was some great thing. They blew out the Commanders. The better team didn't just win the game, they blew them out. It was 41-15 at one point. Shout out to Schottenheimer for going over there saying, we're going to figure this out. Hopefully that continues. Eberflus doesn't fall back into that, okay, we're going to run zone and zone and zone. He can feel more comfortable mixing and matching these coverages, and that was without Trayvon Diggs. I don't know if he's going to be here for the Cowboys for the rest of the year, and if he is, like, that was without him, and they held the Commanders to just over 200 passing yards. Their run game was pretty much non-existent. Shout out Solomon Thomas, Deron Bland, even Bridges, Reddy Stewart, Donovan Ezeraku got his first sack, Solomon Thomas. I thought they were fantastic yesterday. Shout out to them. I hope this is a flash of things to come for this unit, because if it is, this team could be so good. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Maybe later today or tomorrow morning.